Tonight, our verse that we're going to go over is in 1 Thessalonians 5:18, and I really struggle saying that. 1 Thessalonians. Thessalonians. 1 Thessalonians 5:18, I had to say it again. Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. So tonight, my goal is for you guys, is help change your perspective, help change your thought pattern in a daily basis. You know, to move from something where it might be more negative to shifting it to more positive. Okay? And so I want to know, and you don't have to raise your hands, but think about it. How many of you wake up on the right side of the bed every day? Like you're ready to go? Davey, I know that you are Davey Welch. If you haven't met him, God bless him. Positivity, it's overflowing. So sit near him if you're struggling, okay? But anyways, you wake up on the right side of the bed, or you see the glass half full, right? You've heard that before. You know, you're more positive than you are negative in a day. You're full of energy. You're ready to attack the day. Whatever comes at you, come on, bring it on, somebody. But what about the people that are waking up on the wrong side of the bed? The glass is half empty. The negative thoughts are just rolling. What is today gonna bring? Yesterday sucked. Why is today gonna be any different? How many of us have that kind of a thought pattern in this room tonight? How many of us are struggling with that? Yeah, there's a few. There's a few. This is the thing, and I want you to write this down. Well, I told that back. I want to read you a verse first. In 2 Corinthians 10:5, it says, we demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. So on a daily basis, as soon as our eyes open, the battle begins. How many of you know that we are in a battle right now? You are in a battle in your mind. And most of life's battles are won and lost in the mind. How many of you believe that? So the thing about it is, and I want you guys to now write this down, you cannot have a positive life with a negative mind. It's impossible. You might be able to fake it for a while, but eventually it's going to catch up with you. You might be able to go through life and everything's good, but what happens when something bad happens? Where's our thought shift then? Are we still thankful? Or does our mindset slowly start drifting to the negative things in our life? For the first few minutes, I want to talk about some negative things that might happen in our day, some negative mindsets we might be able to find ourselves in. Things that I think probably some of you might be dealing with in this room. And again, you don't raise your hands when I start naming these off, okay? So the first thing I've got is a general distrust in people. I bet there's some people in here that have been hurt. I bet you there's some people in here that have had a friend do them wrong. Maybe somebody that you thought was your friend, but over here's talking behind your back. And then you hear it for the grapevine from somebody else. I think you'd probably develop a distrust in people. I think it'd probably be hard to let people in that circumstance. You'd probably develop a negative mindset, because you're going to have a defense built up because everybody's out to get you. Which leads into point 2, an unwillingness to develop relationships. More than likely, if you've been hurt, if somebody's wronged you, you're probably going to have a hard time developing a relationship with anybody. You'll find yourself disconnecting and pulling yourself away. And I want you to know, when you do that, the enemy's got you right where he wants you. He's going to disconnect you. if you're not strong enough to combat it, he's going to win every time. And the thing about it, he doesn't do it quickly. He's going to do it slow. Okay, he's just not going to force feed it down your throat and kill you right then and there. It's a slow progression. So you might start one negative thought, but then that one little negative thought slowly multiplies. It starts festering, it starts growing in your life. You know, to where, like for instance, like in a relationship, you might have somebody that has wronged you. Or maybe somebody that's just not talking to you that day, but your mind might drift to something's wrong. What did I do to them? And then your mind starts spiraling out of control even further and further down the rabbit hole. Well, they just don't like me anymore. Maybe I'm defective. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not worthy enough to be their friend. The enemy, if you allow him to have a seat at your table, he's going to disrupt everything. And before long, the only thought pattern that you are going to have is a negative one. You're going to start your day in negativity. You're going to end your day in negativity, and then it's going to repeat. It's a repeating cycle. And and you can almost think that a negative mindset is habitual. It's a habit you can find yourself in. The thing about a habit, you know how long it takes to break a habit? Google says, if you can trust it, 30 to 60 days. This is the other thing, though. I mean, yeah, maybe 21. But how long have you been sitting in this mess for? You know what I'm saying? How long have you been sitting in your mess? Yeah, 21 days. Shoot, might not even touch nothing. Because this is the thing about your mind. When we allow whether positive or negative, when we allow it to drift, we're creating a pathway in our mind. I want you to think about a dog run at your house. What's a dog do? Runs that same path, right? Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. What happens? A path forms, right? Grass dies, makes me mad because I love my yard and I spend a lot of time in my yard. But anyways, this dog has created a path and it's dead now. It's very laid out. And like I said, that's how our mind works too. If we allow negative things in and we play it on repeat, it's like running a dog run. And before long, that's the only thing that's coming out of your mind. That's the only thing. There's no fruit being produced anymore. Which brings it to a next point, only noticing the bad in a happy experience. Pathway, right? Something good could be happening to you. You could get good news and still find something to complain about because maybe that good news that you got wasn't the news that you wanted. How many of you get like that? We want to be in control of everything, right? I think that's typically how our mind works. We want to be in control of things. Well, what if that was a good situation and you picked the one thing because it didn't line up with exactly what you were thinking in that point in time in your mind? So even in happy experiences, we can still draw out negativity. I like this next one because this is something I had struggled with, and that's having a mindset of perfectionism. Enemy loves this one. Nobody's perfect, right? We sure like to think we can be. So again, like if we look back even in the Bible, we look at the 10 Commandments, that's a list, right? And I think there's 613 laws in the Bible? 613? Try to do all those. Can you do them? Can you get all those? I don't even know all 613. Shoot, I barely know the 10. But we develop a mindset of perfectionism in anything that we do. And what happens is when you develop a mindset of perfectionism and one little thing goes wrong, it disrupts everything. And all of a sudden, here's all the thoughts creeping back in. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not handsome or pretty enough. You start to spiral again. Because again, we weren't meant to operate in perfectionism. That's why God had to send his son, right? Because we couldn't get it right. We couldn't get it right. So he had to send his son to take care of it for us. The next one, assuming the worst in every situation. Man, you know, woke up this morning, the day just is rough. Man, it's all starting off bad. My knee hurts, got a headache, don't have nothing for breakfast, or nothing that I want anyway. We allow that thought to travel. And then everything that we encounter throughout the day is just the absolute worst. We assume the worst in every situation before the situation has even presented itself. And we find ourselves again on the struggle bus. See, these are a few examples that can encourage sadness in our lives and cause our brain to distort the truth. And what can happen is we can develop a negative thought process in that. If we're going to allow our brain to control it, if we're going to allow these thoughts to come in, if we're going to allow this negativity to come in, it's going to distort the truth in our life. And so how do we make that shift in our mind? I want you to write this down as well. Being thankful isn't just a feeling we feel, but a decision that we make. We can't rely just on our emotions. If we were relying on our emotions, man, we're all doomed. We're all going to be struggling. We're all going to be finding ourselves in that negative thought pattern. No, when you're faced with it, you got to stick your foot in the ground, you got to plant yourself, and you got to switch directions. It calls action. It takes action on your part. If you're just going to sit in your own pity party and drown away in your own sorrows, just sit there. It's a call to action on your part. You've got to stand up, you got to dig your foot into the ground, and you got to shift a direction. And then you got to do it again. And then you got to do it again. It doesn't stop. It's a daily practice. It's a daily struggle. If you're struggling, it might take a minute, but you keep planting that foot and you drive the other way. Plant that foot and you drive the other way. Romans 12:2 says, "Do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will for your life." Whew. Come on. If we're going to have a worldly mindset, I'm going to tell you something. It's going to break you. Might not today. It might not tomorrow. But eventually, if our view is only of this world, it's going to crush us. And it's going to come at the most unexpected time in your life is when you're going to be faced with those issues. What are you putting your hope in at that point? Again, if we're to be thankful in all circumstances, like 1 Thessalonians says, I'm going to say that every time, by the way. Does that just mean when things are going good? I got the pickup that I wanted. I'm the starter on the basketball team. Come on, I'm getting the good grades. I got the best ACT score. I'm getting colleges looking at me. I've got scholarships at the door. I've got that good job that's putting money in my account. Man, life is good. Life is good. Man, nothing can touch me. Nothing. What happens when things goes bad? What happens when you didn't do good on that test? You're not the starter. Maybe you're the backup. You've been trying really hard, but you've fallen short in that. Maybe this guy or this girl that you were really into, maybe they just ain't so into you. Maybe that friend, like I said earlier, that you thought you had wasn't really your friend in the first place. What happens when bad things land at your doorstep? What are you putting your hope in? I like this example too because it just happened. It's real fresh on me last week. This is kind of a funny, but when your OU Sooners lose to the Kansas Jayhawks, 38-33, 7-0, and we choked. All hope's lost. Season's over. Fire Venables and the rest of the coaching staff. This was our year. This is our one chance. That don't affect me at all. Sooners losing a ball game. But how often, and I will say this for myself, I have let that get me bent out of shape for years because they've been doing a lot of losing in really unexpected times. Like, come on, you're in the cakewalk of your schedule now. Or should have been, what I thought. We'll find out more this weekend, I guess. Oh. Goodness. Well, all right. Glad I can make a few of you laugh. Anyways, all right, so tonight I've got 3 reasons why you should choose to be positive, why you should choose to be thankful. And that first one is thankfulness is healthy. Anybody know that? Thankfulness is healthy. Thankfulness just makes you feel good. Doesn't it, Davey? Just makes you feel good, gets all up in your feels. People with a positive thinking pattern are generally empowered to act and achieve their goals. On the other side of that, negative thinking patterns can paralyze and present fears and doubts that prevent us from taking action that can bring us closer to our goals and ultimately closer to God. Studies have shown that regular expressions of gratitude, thankfulness, can decrease blood pressure, reduce anxiety, depression, and cause you to sleep better. I don't think y'all need to sleep better, do you? Do y'all struggle sleeping? Man, just think about that for a minute. How many of you guys, I know there's a few of you in here that struggle with anxiety, that struggle with bouts of depression in the world that we live in right now. It just seems like that is more relevant today than I've ever seen it, that we're struggling with these things. Where's our mind at? Where's our mind at? Is our mind in the gutter? Why are we thinking all this negative stuff? Why are we allowing the world to attack us so bad? Why is the enemy so rooted in? Why does he have his claws dug into us so bad? We can all find things to be thankful for, guys, even in the simplest of things. The air that you're breathing right now is something to be thankful for. Without it, you're dead, right? The air that we breathe, the family that we have, the roof over our head, the clothes on our back, simple things in our life that we can be thankful for, that every day that we could speak out. We could speak that out daily. Who remembers 2020? Everybody? You remember that one time? Whose parents went out and bought Walmart out of all the... We're going to have a talk after this. I bet you guys are still going through that toilet paper. It's the biggest joke ever. Man, and when got somebody like me that actually just needed some, and I was buying sparingly, and I couldn't find any, it was at your house. That's my rant. So be thankful for toilet paper of all things, I guess. If you are finding something or not finding anything to be thankful for, find that, okay? Number 2, thankfulness changes our perspective. If we're going to make a shift in our mind to be thinking more positive, we got to change our perspective a little bit. We got to start looking at things differently, you know? Thankfulness or positive thinking can change the way you look at circumstances, including the bad ones. When we look at circumstances or situations with positive thinking, we can look beyond the crisis and the setback rather than be consumed by it. So this means when you wake up in the morning and say you got a test that day and you've been preparing for it all night, and right off the bat that morning you just start speaking negativity over your life. I don't even know why I wasted all that time. I don't know why I wasted all that time studying for that test. I suck at tests. I'm not a good test taker. I have test anxiety. I don't even know why I wasted all my time preparing for this thing. I'm just going to walk in the door and I'm going to fail it. You're setting yourself up for failure. What we've got to do, like it says in 2 Corinthians 10:5, we've got to, what? Capture our thoughts. We've got to capture our thoughts before it can drift to a negative response. So instead of going in there thinking, I'm about to bomb this sucker, I'm getting up and saying, I gave it my all. I'm ready. I'm prepared for this. I've studied. I've put in the time. Now I'm going to go in there and I'm going to give it my best effort. And my best effort is good enough. That is all I can ask of myself. And if it doesn't go my way at the end of it, I'm still going to rejoice because, hey, I did the absolute best, but now I'm going to take it a step further and I'm going to go get the help that I need. I'm going to go find somebody that maybe can help me with this, you know. Again, that's taking something that could be very, very negative because we're feeding off the past and turning it to something good. That's putting a stick point in and changing direction and saying, hey, no matter what, good or bad on the outcome, I'm going to choose to see this positively. I'm going to seek out the positive. I'm going to change my perspective and how I look at this. Same way, we can look... Same way we can look at our friends this way. You know, we can get to school and our best friend ain't even talking to us. Ain't even looking at us. Some of us might drift like, what's wrong with her? What'd I do to her? What'd I do to him? Like, what's up with this? You know, I'm going to have to confront this. I'm going to have to take care of this. I'm going to have to figure this out. Again, we're going to capture that thought. Say, man, something's up with my friend today. I don't know what it is, but I need to check on them. I know they're not acting right, and I know they're not mad at me. They're my best friend. I'm going to touch base with that person, my friend. I'm going to check on them. I'm going to see how they're doing. I'm going to ask them how they're doing. I'm going to change my perspective for something that I could perceive as bad and change it for something good. Because again, how oftentimes do we get caught up in that? Where we've made our mind up about somebody before even having a conversation with them. You know? Where our mind can tend to go to the worst case scenario or the worst thing. Even when the worst thing didn't even exist in the first place. It's crazy how the enemy works. You know? Just plants those little seeds. So that is changing our perspective. And the thing I want you guys to get on this, you are one decision away from a positive or a negative outcome. You're one decision away from a positive or a negative outcome. And that goes through everything that we do every single day, all throughout our day. Every single time we have a decision to make. We don't base it off our feelings. We have a decision to make in that moment. The third thing I've got for you is thankfulness glorifies God. Philippians 4:8-9 says, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, whatever is excellent, or whatever is praiseworthy, think about such things. Woo! Man. Now I want to read you a different version. This is the NWV version, the New Winers version. It doesn't say, whatever sucks, whatever's difficult, whatever's hard, whoever did me wrong, whatever didn't go my way, think about such things. It didn't say that. We're going to shift our mindset. It says, let me say that again to you, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, whatever is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. If we're thinking that way, how could we ever be negative? Man, maybe she stopped right there, man. Let's just shift our thoughts to that verse right there, those two verses. It is so, so good. Pastor Craig Rochelle breaks this down so we can better understand it. And it's one, we got a thought. So think about such things. So we're going to think about good things, positive things, things that are lovely, things that are pure, some things that are excellent and worthy of praise. Or are we going to just think about the dead things, the things that just bring us down, the things that will take us to a negative mindset? Two is an action. We're going to put it into practice, right? Just like what we've talked about. We're going to change a direction. We've got a direction to go. Are we going to continue to keep going down that same path of destruction? Or are we going to start making a turn? And even though it might be tough and it might be hard to kind of get through that stick point, I'm going to root myself in it because I want different for myself. We've got a simple action to make. And then three, depending on what action you took or thought you had, we're going to experience something, right? We're going to either experience something good, pleasing, we're going to find peace, we're going to find rest in it, we're going to experience something bad.